guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. So today we're going to go ahead and begin the Red Zone no item sweep with the brand new DOKKANFEST Bardock and his team. Now remember, Bardock is able to give us the Scouter for the first 5 turns that he is in the fight, right? So essentially, because we have a Bardock in the first turn and then we have a Bardock in the second turn, we will have a Scouter all the way up until turn 6. Turn 7 will be the first turn where we do not have a Scouter up with Bardock. Bardock really is a character, to me, seemingly designed for the Wicked Bloodline Red Zone, right? It is exactly what I look at as this Bardock, right? It's like, you could certainly say the same maybe like the Gammas or Kid Goku, right? But like, they kind of dominate across the entire game. Bardock, really, I feel like a lot of, besides this Frieza, the opening fight against Frieza here, goes on for quite a while, right? Frieza has so many phases, and he has so much health, but all the other Wicked Bloodline Red Zone fights are just 2 phases. So, it's like Bardock, like, these are very short, very difficult fights a lot of times, right? I mean, you know, some of them, Metal Cooler, Core, Final Form Cooler, right? Like, you could potentially take many turns to finish off that final phase, but it is still just 2 phases. So Bardock's Scouter ability really plays incredibly well in the Wicked Bloodline Red Zone. I didn't really have any difficulties with any of the stages at all. I believe I did all the, like, again, sitting down, alright, let's actually go for it. I beat all of these stages in one try except for Frieza here. But Frieza's an annoying one for sure, because it's like, you know, you go through this long-ass fight, and then, like, Tech Full Power Frieza supers you in, like, the 3rd slot, and it's just like, alright, well, back to the start you go, because it's, Tech Full Power Frieza at the end of this fight hits very, very, very hard. Now, we go through, we're using a pretty similar setup, I would say, in a lot of these fights. You know, Carnival Goku and Kid Goku we have in virtually every run. We do use Tora in many of the runs as well. Tech Ultimate Gohan, I believe we only use him here. We know about Tech Ultimate Gohan, right? The guarding, the stacking makes Tech Ultimate Gohan really, really solid. Carnival Goku, I keep talking about it lately, but like, it's just like, between his categories, his links, his stacking, his revive, like, all this stuff this character's doing, I'm not using a character more right now than Carnival Goku. He is, like, over the last couple of months, he is the most used character I have. I doubt, like, if I would say in 2022, who's the character I've used the most, that's probably the LR Gods, probably, but, you know, I've gotten my money's worth out of that Carnival Goku, man, and then here we go. Right, like, this is just so free to get. Just a busted character. The thing that could really hurt Carnival Goku is if we get, like, a way better character that needs to revive, too. That could hurt Carnival Goku, depending upon whatever team it is, right? But, there we go. We're able to sort of, you know, navigate through the Frieza fights. Again, this is probably the toughest fight for Bardock's team, just because all these other fights will have the Scouter up just so much. One last thing before we move on to the next fight, is that, remember, all Gokus that we use on this team are getting the full 200% leader skill. So, it's just, we just are using these Gokus at, you know, damn near full power, max power. These Gokus just feel strong, look really good. And, you know, in most of these Wicked Bloodline stages, we're just tearing these stages in half. With the power of Bardock and mostly these other Gokus and stuff like that. moving on to the second fight. This is against Final Form Cooler. Now, Cooler being Int in his second phase is very advantageous for us, because what this means is that Fascia can actually be run at full power in here. We got a pretty poor opening rotation. Both Bardocks in the turn 1 is really bad, because that means our Scouter is only going to last until turn 5, right? Because the second Bardock, you know, one Bardock in slot 7 is really good, because then we could have the Scouter all the way up potentially until turn 7, which could just be ridiculous, right? But unfortunately, we're only going to have the 5-turn Scouter here. Now, we're using double tech Bardock. This is a tough fight, and I did get it done in one try. I mean, sure, we have a ridiculous lineup, right? Fascia's great for this fight. You know, we have God Goku, we got Carnival Goku, we got Kid Goku, right? We have a lot of really crazy units that we could potentially use here, but still, I was very pleased that we got this done in one try, right? So, Fascia, remember that the thing about Fascia is that she guards her first 2 rotations, and she does actually need to take these hits, right? Because if Fascia, every time she gets hit, and every time she guards, there's 2 different buffs she gets. She's able to build up her stats. Now, in this fight, like, we're going to move on to Int Final Form Cooler, so Fascia will easily be able to build up her abilities, even if, you know, she'd end up in slot 7, and then, you know, shenanigans would ensue where we were barely able to have her even get hit, right? That's not really going to be a problem that we're going to have to worry about sort of in this run, right? Fascia will be able to go at full power. God Goku, Carnival Goku, we know exactly what they're able to do. We're using Tora as well. So remember, Tora, the thing about Tora is that if he's on rotation with Bardock, he's giving Bardock the 60% support, which is just so much, right? Throughout, you know, this video, there's, you know, several 10 million attack stat guaranteed crits that Bardock is shooting out, right? Keep in mind that defensively, he does get to a pretty good spot, but, I mean, really, it does seem like Bardock is in the sort of, I don't know, I gotta come up with a term for it, but he's in that kind of, like, sweet spot where it's like, his defense looks super crazy on paper, and you can point it out and be like, oh my god, dude, he's so good. But it's like, it's, okay, he's still taking double digits from normals, but then he's still getting his asshole blown inside out by one of these big-time million damage super attack bosses. So, it's like, at a certain point, it just doesn't even really matter, right? We get pretty good luck right here. We're able to get the super attack right at the start on Fascia, right? She'll be able to build up, she'll be able to tank this and eat this well. Now, remember, especially for like a short fight like this, it was imperative that I made sure to have 3 Team Bardock members on the team. The reason it's so important is because, remember, Bardock can get his active skill on turn 3 if you have 3 Team Bardock allies on the team. That includes himself, but not the friend unit, right? So, Bardock, Tora, and Fascia right here, exactly like this, does count and allows us to do the active skill. The reason that's so important is, remember, Tech Bardock has to super attack 3 times to fully build up. Against Int Final Form Cooler, we need to get that active skill off. It counts as one of the super attacks to get him his stats, right? Get him his buff. So then we get that extra little defensive ability, and then, you know, we still take 100k right there, but that's not my Rainbow Bardock, right? Unfortunately. So there we go. We're able to blitz Cooler with just a lot of super powerful active skills. We got a lot of really good characters, right? Like, you know, it's just a turn. Look at all the damage we do just right here at the start. Carnival Goku, again, another revive. Carnival Goku is just too good. Like, Carnival Goku's the best character on the team, for sure, I would say. Then probably Kid Goku, then probably Bardock. But I was definitely very pleased that this only took 1 try. Against this Final Form Cooler is tough. We got through him in 1 try. I was very happy about that. Alright, guys, now we're moving on to Mecha Frieza and King Cold. Again, this is the mega super duper free pass fight. Mecha Frieza and King Cold just can't really put up much of a fight. Especially against the team that, like, you know, we go into, like, the Metal Cooler Core fight and beat it in one try. This measly little fight can't do anything. Just briefly going over what the boss does here. In this opening round, only the AGL Frieza Soldier at the start can even super attack. His damage is pathetic, as you guys can see. Double-digit damage to Goku right there. In the second phase, we fight King Cold and Mecha Frieza. King Cold, of course, will randomly seal you, so we make sure to aim at King Cold as much as possible. I actually brought LRB Pan. I don't know. I was literally just looking through the roster, and it's like I was looking at the STR units, and I was going to bring LR Kaioken Goku, and then I was like, well, you know what? I mean, Bardock works sort of well with some of these, like, hybrid Saiyan, like Gohan and Pan types, right? Since he's got Saiyan lineage and Saiyan Warrior Race, which a bunch of them typically have. So I was like, whatever, we'll go for it. We'll bring LRB Pan, right? She could have her active skill support buff turn, where she gives the huge buff to the rotation, right? And then, of course, she's able to heal, and she's got damage reduction, and, you know, I think my Pan's got a little bit of dodge as well. So she's able to sort of put in some work, right? Not really too much to say here, right? It's just finish off King Cold quickly so he can't just continually, like, seal lock your characters. And if we do that, then, you know, we get a pretty comfortable win here, which is exactly what happens. Mecha Frieza and King Cold, a really rather easy fight. right, next we're moving on to the fight against Metal Cooler, AGL Metal Cooler. Now, this is the fight where Bardock can most heavily dominate, right? Bardock was made for this fight. So, the Cyclopean guard here at the start, this little guard robot, is a real threat. We all know this. He can do a lot of damage, actually. But Bardock will give us a scouter so we can't get caught. See, like right here, this potentially could be very scary. But with the scouter, we could sort of, you know, make things exactly the way we want to. Now, I believe we do get some pretty bad luck with Fasha. This can happen with this type of character, right? We just don't get a lot of attacks aimed at her for where I want it. Because the thing is, if I float Fasha off right here, it's like I'll barely get a chance for her to take hits while her guard is up, right? Which I just want to try and get as much of her passive built up as possible. I do trust Kid Goku in front of this super attack by the guard. Remember that I've given my Goku full dodge for this exact reason. Right, I knew that Goku would be fulfilling this role oftentimes, and then of course we dodge the super attack. Again, believe me, don't be scared to give your characters dodge. It's not 2016 anymore, where when the hidden potential system was first a thing, dodge was just like worthless. It was like pointless and worthless, and there was like you did just blitz events with offense, but it's not really the way it works now. Like dodge is really good, considering almost no characters can survive, and every character can seemingly do good damage, right? So you really want to, again, maximize your chances to win. Pouring on every extra point of additional and crit is not the best way to do that. I feel like dodging a lot of these attacks is very good. Now, this robot, again, the point here is just to get through this guy as quickly as possible. We got a really good lucky rotation right here that Tor doesn't have to take hits. But we want to finish this guy off as quickly as possible because remember, Tech God Goku takes a lot of damage against this guy. Tech God Goku is a very strong character, but it's against movie bosses and pure Saiyans. And this guard is not either of those. So God Goku can get torn to shreds by this guy, right? I've had this guy one-shot God Goku numerous times, so I even gave some thought to potentially using some of Bardock's active skills. Because since Bardock is tech, I'm very confident we are going to trash Metal Cooler very, very fast. But I did decide to hold off on his active skills until we got to Metal Cooler. The thing about this fight is that Metal Cooler is a very tough boss, but I mean, with Carnival Goku, Kid Goku, and Bardock, it's just not... Like, we're just going to do so much damage to Cooler so fast. Remember that Metal Cooler is basically... I mean, he's AGL like the last phase of Broly. His super attack hits a bit harder than AGL Broly. But the thing is that Metal Cooler heals, whereas Broly cancels your ability to dodge. The healing is nothing compared to canceling our ability to dodge. So, you know, and then with Bardock, right, doing guaranteed crits with 3 rainbow orbs, Bardock is able to, you know, melt Metal Cooler very fast. So even though Metal Cooler can heal a lot of HP per turn, that's, you know, one of his big gimmicks here, it's not going to matter against a character like Bardock, right, who's just doing so much. 8.4 guaranteed crit, just huge damage, huge chunks of health flying off of Metal Cooler's health bar. guys, now we're moving on to the final fight here in the Wicked Bloodline Red Zone. This is against the Metal Cooler Core. Certainly one of the hardest fights in the game. If this fight canceled dodge, this would be, I think, like, by far the hardest fight in the game, right? Like, this, like, unquestionably. But, you know, we can dodge in here, which gives us a real fighting chance. So, remember that the Metal Cooler Army can be very problematic because they get double super every turn, which, you know, they can lower your defense as well as doing just an obscene amount of damage. But remember with Bardock, we got both. That's a nice dodge. Remember that, okay, when it comes to the Metal Cooler Army, they debuff you. They lower your attack and defense. If you dodge the super attack, you also dodge the debuff. So that means, like, God Goku is not going to be debuffed moving forward, which is very helpful. Now, we got both Bardocks in turn 2, which means we're now going to have a Scouter from turn 2 to turn 6, right? The Metal Cooler Core oftentimes does go beyond that, but it should give us enough time. It is funny, there's Goku characters are really, really good for this fight, right? Like, there's several other characters that I think could have performed well in here. EZA, STR, Namek Goku can be fairly good in here. I think maybe LR Kaioken Goku could put in some work as well, if he doesn't get put into harm's way too much in the initial phase. I do think Kaioken Goku, again, can put in some work. But I was actually really surprised, right? Like, once I sat down for this, I did take this fight out in one try. Now, Fascia, right? Remember that Fascia can be very good for exactly this type of fight. Remember that the Metal Cooler Core attacks more times turn 1 than, like, any other boss. But the downside to this for a character like Fascia, but I guess it's a good thing for the difficulty of this event, is that the Metal Cooler Core doesn't attack as much, right? As oftentimes a lot of other bosses. So because of that, because the Metal Cooler Core doesn't attack as much, it does give us a lot more chance to survive. And the Metal Cooler Core really can do so much freaking damage. After the core super attacks, the normals just become like, it's like unsurvivable with so many characters. Now, I actually did decide to dust off Pikkon for this fight. I'm not the biggest fan of Pikkon, but the thing is that he does have this Ghost Rusher ability, which is really strong. Especially if we have the firepower to finish a boss off quickly after this, which we do with this team. But Pikkon, we're able to get the active skill Ghost Usher off with him. He can support, and he does have a 50% chance to dodge. Pikkon would be, I think, worthless if he didn't have the dodge. But, like, the fact that it's that combo, you know, the Ghost Usher active skill, dodge, and support, it does make him valuable for some of these fights, right? Like, you don't want to expect him to do too much, but we were able to line things up perfectly, right? Where I had him exactly on turn 4, we got the active skill, and we're able to make things work. Now, remember that when we use, like, Ghost Ushers and stuff like that, keep in mind that it counts, it just rolls the turn back to the next turn. So, essentially, just the way things went, we're going to end up going the first 2 turns here against the Metal Cooler Core without getting super attacked, which is really, really nice. When the core supers, he gets just such a substantial attack buff. It's just really annoying to deal with. I believe this is the final turn that we have our Scouter right here. And then after this, we're just going to have to survive, you know, with dodges. Hopefully, if the core is going to super attack, he's going to hit either, you know, God Goku, or he's going to hit Carnival Goku or something like that. Bardock is really good. He's not able to tank a super attack from the core. It hits way too hard, right? But most characters can't. I mean, Kid Goku's best tanking performance I've ever seen against the core, I believe I once had Kid Goku take about 500k damage from a super attack from this guy. But the core, he really just does so much damage. We get another very good luck turn right here, right? We have Pikkon on rotation again, but Pikkon is going to be able to potentially get our dodges in and stuff like that, right? So, there we go. There is the fight against the Metal Cooler Core, as well as the entire Wicked Bloodline Red Zone. Let me know what you guys think of some of the setups we use in here, some of the really tough bosses that we fight. Obviously, the Metal Cooler Core, Metal Cooler, Final Form Cooler, like, these fights are absolutely brutal. And it really does show, like, Bardock can really put in a lot of work. I think that Scout, especially in the Wicked Bloodline Red Zone, that Scouter for the first couple of turns can really, really make things go smoothly. I've just had so many runs die to the Metal Cooler Army, man. The Metal Cooler Army is really ridiculous in how they can just double super and just do insane amounts of damage, right? So, let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.